Okay, let me see if he's around. Hello, Kalamazi. I don't know when THD. Wait, let me do some quick research on THD and find out when he went to bed. Like, no, THD is THD doesn't sleep like a normal human. He sleeps like 4 or 5 hours a day, and he sleeps like a rabbit. So he doesn't
It's
like
great.
he doesn't sleep at them all in one. He doesn't sleep the 4 hours in one fell swoop. He like sleeps 2 hours at a time.
I
So I
can
don't.
tell if his little Discord light is green. I know he's up. Otherwise, he's sleeping. He's always on his computer. That's it.
Yeah. All right, opening the Warlock things. Okay, so I briefly looked at these. I saw some summaries, but basically the idea is we're just going to kind of go through. We do not know the current pathing yet, so there were a few pathing issues on the Warlock tree, but I just kind of want to go through kind of their thought processes. Most of it will just be, I can even share my screen so you know where I'm at. Just going to be talking about their philosophy and what you think about those things and how it can possibly affect the class, and then we'll go over the pathing at a different date when they actually release it. Just for people watching this, the build today is supposed to be, we were told, late today or tomorrow. So 4 or 5 Pacific time, like basically at the latest today. And if it's not out by then, by that time, we'll actually probably have been told that it will be tomorrow. So there's a decent chance that you don't know what this looks like yet. But one thing I wanted to bring up is I think this is really fascinating the way they actually did this. I don't think it's an accident that the Mage and Warlock posts look exactly the same. And I wouldn't be surprised if more posts don't look like this in the future. I think they're definitely seeing that like people are loving the feedback, which has been really good across the whole game. And I think they're going to put a little bit more emphasis on constant update and feedback over the next few weeks. And the whole like design being the same, I don't think is an accident. I think like they kind of went over like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a structure of how to actually get the feedback
Yeah.
across. And that's why. So I think most classes should expect to see something that looks quite like this coming soon, which will be good. Dude, oh
Yeah,
my
it's really
god.
cool.
Go ahead, go ahead.
That's just really cool. Hopefully, like Priest and Druid get some more attention in the near future here. It does feel a little bad, like Warlock getting basically half a class overhaul week 2. But I mean, no, I agree. The structuring is really good. Hopefully, they continue following up with feedback.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I didn't really get to ask you before these changes. What were your initial thoughts generally about the initial Warlock trees that were released?
I mean, I was a pretty big fan of them. Some things can change in the class tree, like THG, and I already mentioned the demonic circle thing being odd. Like Af was like really good on the right side of the tree, like Mythic Plus, like more dot based builds. The left side of the tree was a disaster with like a million different like maintenance buttons, bloat, just button bloat everywhere, maintenance debuffs or maintenance buffs and things. They fixed that in these changes, which is really sick. Destro and Demo are pretty good too, I think overall. A couple of things here and there could be changed, but overall, I was pretty happy. Like, solid 8 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, it definitely was a good tree. Like I think you guys had so many options, and I'm interested to see what they have a big core tree section, and I think there was definitely a few buttons previously that were like very strange. Like I'm sure you shared. I think the big points before that Zerwo, Splat, and THD had were spell lock being a choice node with having the option to still have it on your pet. I think is something they were really adamant about.
Right, I agree.
Yep, the pathing from basically requiring kick to get a stam increase, which most other classes can choose if they don't need a kick, which you don't in a lot of content, to gain power. Warlocks, as with some other classes, are kind of required to get it because the thing under it is just too good. The fact that you have to get accrued vitality to get demonic circle. I think there's like one other one. Oh yeah, the like going you have to go through and get teachings of the Black Harvest to even consider Pact of the Ant Mother, where you don't have to make that decision at all in the other part of the capstones of the tree. Did you find anything else that seemed kind of strange in the class tree?
I mean, not really. There's Grimoire Synergy, which is to the right or sorry, to the left of your mouse a little bit. Yeah, it was sort of odd. That was in like a more of a utility row, being a legendary effect we have
Oh
now.
yeah,
Just a
yeah.
flat DPS increase, but they very well might adjust that. And Soul Burn is just not very good in its form right now. It just it's very subpar compared to what it used to be. It used to be able to empower other abilities a lot more. It might need to be improved a bit. But besides that, I think everything is pretty much on point. The capstones are a bit odd. Like Dimensional Rift, I felt was more of a Destro thing, and Decimating Bolt felt just sort of bad for every spec besides Demonology.
Yeah, and I
But
think I think they addressed that a little bit, and it also led to like a crazy like I think Affliction had the most short cooldown like CD and buttons you have to track than like any class ever. Like it was insane. And I think they looked at that a little bit. So let's go over the core tree. So just going to kind of read a little bit of their philosophy. So they said, we took another look at the core tree and came to the same consensus that a lot of the community shared. While it's cool to get access to buttons previously unavailable or completely new, it created a lot of button bloat specifically for Affliction and added some additional mechanical complexity to rotation. In lieu of this, we've cut out a lot of the throughput-centric talents. So Devastating Bolt, each of the packs at the bottom. Wait, does he mean Decimating Bolt?
Yeah, I assume it's Decimating Bolt, probably.
Sure, that's pretty funny. That's okay. And then introduce or reintroduce some utility talents in their place. Here's some examples of spells you can see. So we'll talk about this in a second, but it looks like they want the bottom of the tree to be more utility instead of throughput based. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so they removed all 3 packs. There are 3 in the like penultimate row. There's Pact of the Imp Mother, Pact of Anilion, and Pact of the Eridar, I think.
Yeah.
They're all DPS traits, so we're not sure if they're filling those in with like soul armor and like demonic resilience and things, or if they're just going to replace with DPS nodes. But it sounds like they want it to be more like just sustainability, like throughput based, like you said, which is an interesting take. I'm not against it because they mentioned they're going to redesign trees a little bit, but yeah, with like Decimating Bolt being removed and Dimensional Rift being removed, which is like going to come in a little bit with spec sections, I'm curious to see where it all goes. But I mean, one of the things to take away from this is Warlock is even tankier than it was before.
Yeah, that's we'll kind of go into those in a second, but I do think some of the very best class trees in the game and the best ones are where you're spending not your spec tree is where you get all your damage, and the class tree is just where you get all your cool shit. So like the really important utility stuff would be at the bottom. Like for example, Soul Link would be an unbelievably powerful like capstone node that something like that. So we will kind of see what they do with that. So they added Soul Armor, and these are all new things, or reintroduced. Soul Armor, when your health drops below 35%, a percentage of damage shared via your Soul Link is increased by an additional. Is that new?
It is new, yeah. It's, I would assume this probably connects to the Soul Link talent.
Yep, right under it.
Yeah, most likely. But it is new. It adds to our tankiness a little bit.
As if I can't believe how tanky you guys are. Demonic Resilience reduces the chance to be critically struck by 4%. All damage your primary demon takes is reduced. Is this more of a PvP thing?
I think so, yeah. I feel like it was in game at some point. Like the name sounds familiar. I'm curious if they replace, or if they're gonna like move some of the stamina nodes around in the higher part of the tree to like maybe compensate for how strong this is, I guess. Like with demons just taking less and less damage. We have like a lot of stamina buffs on top of the tree. Like does your demon still die to things? It's usually just like random abilities that don't do like the pet guardian AoE situation that kill pets, right? Or are they in more risk of dying with Soul Link? I mean, not really. Like they take a little bit more damage, but if your pet's gonna die, he's gonna die. Basically, he either dies or he doesn't. There's not fights where like I need to call healing for my pet a whole lot. He dies the most from dragon riding. Actually, they go away whenever you dragon ride. That's the biggest issue right now.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say too. Like I definitely remember some times where like Soul Link was doing so much damage that Warlock's pets were dying just on like mythic raid encounters. But I think that's like really unlikely. But
yeah, it hasn't been a thing for a while, which is good.
Okay, sure. And then the Abyss Walker. Using Demonic Circle Teleport or your Demonic Gateway reduces all damage you take by 4% for 10 seconds. This, yes, it's like another tanky option. I really hope this isn't in the bottom part of the tree, though. This seems really bad, right?
It's pretty mediocre, yeah. I thought it would be like a 1-2 point node kind of thing, but even if it's like 8%, it's just pretty subpar. It's not very good. It's like a filler talent, but it just seems sort of bad, honestly.
Yeah, it seems pretty bad. Fell Synergy Soul Leech also heals you for 25% and your pet for 50% of the absorb that it grants. And then it says Soul Link in general has just been divided into 2 parts. Fell Synergy and itself, the damage reduction portion. The reason for this is that Soul Link offers too much value for a single talent node. That said, Fell Synergy and Soul Link are very close to one another, and neither are multi-ranked. So they're basically making you invest 2 points in the future to get what current Soul Link does.
Yeah, if you hover over Soul Link, it shows like that the second half of it is literally Fell Synergy. So we're making it 2 nodes. It's fine.
It's absolutely fine. Dude, just one of those points I think might be the single best defensive point that any class in the game has. It's a 20% passive DR, man. like that is all, right? Yeah, I think it it really sucks. You might have to spend that second point to get the other part, or maybe give you more choice if you don't really care about the Soul Leech part of it. So yeah, yeah. So they're looking at replacing Summon Jailer are now implemented and testable. So Summon Soul Keeper. You gain Tormented Souls periodically as you slay enemies. Consume all Tormented Souls to summon a Soul Keeper that periodically blasts Oh, so it's the same as Jailer. It's just renamed.
Yeah, they changed it. I would assume Summon Jailer is confusing with Shadowlands probably, or something, and they changed it to Soulkeeper. Yeah, same thing, but it hasn't been implemented yet. We don't know how it functions. Same
It
with
kind of works
Wolfpack.
like an old. It's like an old legendary, right, or artifact thing.
Yeah, it's like Ulathesh from Legion. You could harvest souls and like use it for certain abilities and things. This thing harvests souls or just gather souls. So you can talent into it in game right now in alpha, and it gives you like a buff with like 10 souls. And it's like a placing reticle how like Rain of Fire is, but it doesn't work. You can't use it yet. So I
Okay,
assume you just passively gather souls, but we don't know yet. It hasn't been implemented yet. So
sure. Well, at least that still being there, assuming they are said they're going to move some things around, but it sounds like they're at least going to have some DPS related capstones still. It doesn't seem like they're going away from that because they're
right.
also yeah okay. And then Inquisitor's Gaze now summons an eye that periodically blasts your enemy. That's the exact same thing, right?
It's the same thing. Yeah, they're just
Oh,
saying
it's
they're
just
gonna work
testable
this
now.
build. Yeah, exactly.
They're just saying, hey, this will work. Yeah. I think all the warlocks were like a little whatever on this. It just seems like arcane familiar, just something you just have by your side that just does passive damage. It's not super interesting, and maybe the only interesting it could ever be is like if you're choosing on a single target boss to take this instead of like an AoE node or something for Mythic Plus, I guess.
Yeah, the big question is, do these scale with Demonology? Because we'll get to like Decon, it's been reworked, but if these give credit towards your Tyrant, they're auto picks. If not, yeah, who knows where they land.
And then their notes on this is we've also rearranged some talents such as moving accrued vitality and making demonic circle more accessible. That's awesome. That was something when we were talking about this tree. When we actually looked at it, Wowhead hadn't made it so you got Curse of Enfeeblement for free yet. So we had to kind of remember throughout our entire tree that you just had one more point than all the stuff we were putting into it. And at the end, we were like, not only do you have that one point, but if they move a few things around at the top, you just straight up are going to move away from accrued vitality and just have 2 extra points in the entire tree to spend, which it already felt like you could get a lot of really good stuff. So it depends on where they move things, but I think that change alone is just going to make the tree so much better because it's just 2 free points.
Yeah, Warlock class tree looks pretty good. We got to see what they do with the packs and things, but overall it looks really solid. Looking at these changes.
Then it said by removing excess throughput from the core tree, we have more freedom to funnel into the spec trees and focus on amplifying each spec's rotation. So, okay, so we definitely need to wait and see this tree. I feel like there could be even more stuff moved around, but it seems like before, like the only choices you had to make without the 3 less points, or with 3 more points, is like it was like deciding whether you needed Shadow Fury or the other node, or deciding whether you actually needed a 45-second Dark Pact. Imagine that line of thinking, and then like other things like that. And then now it's like that's kind of guaranteed, and it's more like if you need to hyper specialize into some like just utility stuff like Feldom or stuff like that. Okay, moving on to the Affliction Tree. Our primary goals of this pass Affliction are to remove a lot of the button bloat introduced during the first pass, remove excess rotational maintenance, and focus on Affliction's single target toolkit. With these goals in mind, we've removed Deathbolt, Death Dealer, Pact of the Nathrezim, and Malefic Wrath, which I know Malefic Wrath was, I think, when we looked at these trees initially, the community response and from the people that I was talking to, the tree alone had a lot of really good things going for it. It had like Dark Glare and some Dark Glare nodes. It had like good synergy with a lot of talents that seemed good in different situations. People just said that the Malefic Wrath playstyle with Rapture just was very unfun and something that is just extra maintenance buffs on top of everything else. How did you feel about that?
I agree. It's a thing now in retail. Malefic Wrath is legendary right now, and it initially used to be, I think, 7 seconds and not 10 during like 9.0. It's not fun to play with. If your stacks drop, you are in hell. Playing it on like convoluted fights, like I played it on Mythic Rygalon as a Necrolord. It was like doing brain surgery in space. It's just you're playing a game in a game. It's not fun. It makes the rotation a pain to maintain. So I'm very happy to see this gone overall. 100%.
What about yeah? I think almost every Warlock would be really happy about that. What about the other 3? How do you feel about those being removed?
Deathbolt, Death Dealer, and Pact of the Nathrezim. I mean, you're removing Death Dealer and Pact because Deathbolt's gone. They come out of each other. Deathbolt,
Sure. Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of it. It used to be in a different form when it was around in BFA. It would just deal a bunch of damage based on how long your dots had left on them when you cast them. But the thing is that they removed Unstable Affliction as something they can stack to 5. It's a limit 1 now. So in BFA, you could put up 5 UAs, cast your Dark Glare, then have 5 UAs rolling, cast a huge Deathbolt. But that's gone now. You had Rapture. So the ability felt like it was really just not anywhere near what it used to be. And 3 shards is a lot for that. It made things weird with Rapture windows. It's a good change overall, I think.
Good.
It's not dot based either. People want dots. So, I mean, they're hard to balance. People want dot damage. So Deathbolt was not that.
Nice. Okay, then it said with a bit of space being freed up, which is they're referring to the bottom left of the capstone nodes. Basically, this entire bottom left section, all 4 buttons. We have some new talents and changes we're excited to get feedback on. So, let's see. We have Creeping Death no longer decreases the duration of your dot effects. I think Creeping Death is already on the tree.
Very bottom.
Very bottom here.
Yeah.
So your Agony, Siphon Life deal their full damage 15% faster, but they're basically saying it's going to be dealing damage faster, but it's not actually going to make your dots fall off faster.
Yeah, they changed one word. It occurs 15% faster, basically, is what it's going to be.
Is that a big power level increase?
It should be. I'm actually really excited about it. So THD and everybody brought up Rapid Contagion, a PvP ability, which you probably can't see now, but it's 3 shards, and it makes your dots tick 33% faster for like 20 seconds or whatever. This is basically Rapid Contagion, but a passive. They occur 15% faster, but their duration is not decreased, which is really big. Because Creeping Death right now reduces duration, which is anti-synergistic with Malefic Rapture, because you want to have dots up longer in your Rapture window. And it didn't work well with Malefic Wrath either, because you wanted dots up for a longer time to drain soul. It felt like a relic of times past from like Legion and BFA when dots did things and they just kept it around. But this change makes it a lot better. This like makes dots feel relevant. They they occur faster. It's gonna be really cool to see how it is. I'm actually really excited about it.
Also, just any kind of baseline dot buffs are good, because I just think the PvE WoW game was just better when dots were real. And I know why they nerfed them across the board, because they're impossibly hard to balance in multiple target situations, while also keeping those classes single target relevant. But I just think dots are sick. It's just a completely different playstyle, and they've really moved away from that. So seeing Affliction get a little bit better dots is also very good. Malefic Affliction. Malefic Rapture causes your active UA to deal 5 to 10% additional damage, and for up to 30% for the rest of its duration. Where is that? Is that new?
It's new, yeah. The rest of these are all new. They're not in the tree yet. I
think it's fair to assume that most of them are going to be in the bottom left of the capstone node.
I'd assume so, yeah.
Okay. And then, Death Blossom, a choice against Dread Touch, so there'll just be a choice node, maybe below Malefic Affliction. Or maybe if Malefic Affliction actually replaces Malefic Wrath. And then Doom Blossom, if corruption damages a target affected by your UA, it has a 10% chance per stack of Malefic Affliction to deal shadow damage to nearby enemies. So it's actually probably a choice node directly under Malefic Affliction, right?
It very well could be. It probably branches out. Like Doom Blossom and Dread Touch, I would assume it's probably like a hybrid node, sort of how like Siphon Life and Absolute Corruption are. But you can choose either or. It probably branches out of Malefic Affliction somehow.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, it seems like Malefic Affliction will probably take the place of Deathbolt.
Probably.
Okay, and then the second choice will be if Malefic Affliction exceeds 3 stacks, the target instead takes 20% additional damage from your dots over 6 seconds. Oh, so that's like a decent amount of burst, actually.
Yeah, it's more like a single target talent versus like what you might play in Mythic Plus in Doom Blossom. So Dread Touch being single target, Doom Blossom being more AoE/Council Cleave based. One interesting thing here to point out that I didn't talk about with Malefic Affliction, and the wording on Malefic Affliction is not very good right now.
Okay.
Malefic Rapture causes your UA to deal 5 to 10% more damage, up to 15-30, which assumes, like, I live in Florida, but I can do basic math. So that should be a max of 3 stacks. Yeah. But if you read Dread Touch, it says if it exceeds 3 stacks. So
maybe maybe that's getting 3 stacks and then just pressing the button again, and it just activates Dread Touch, maybe?
Maybe, yeah. I wouldn't assume they want to, like, cap it at a max percent and then have you exceed the stack count, but, like, we'll see what the hat looks like when we get in game. But yeah, either way, it's like a single target versus AoE spender, I feel like, and or council spender. It's pretty good. I'm a fan. Dots 2 damage again. Okay,
cool. And then it goes down into Soul Eater's Gluttony, which I assume will be under Soul Rot, or at least a tangent node. If whenever UA deals damage, the cooldown of Soul Rot is reduced by 1 second with 2 points invested into it.
Yeah, it's good. We currently have these like 1 minute Malefic Rapture windows on live right now because Soul Rot's a minute cooldown. But if this brings it to like 45-ish seconds, I don't know how often UA ticks over the course of a minute. I probably should, but if it goes down to like 45 seconds, it'll align with our Phantom Singularity, which gives us big Rapture windows. Singularity is more up the tree. It shares a node. It shares a node with Vile Taint off to the. There you go. It'll align with that. So because currently we hold our singularity for 15 seconds on retail and wait
Oh,
for a full
okay.
rod. So it could be like 45-second damage windows, which is pretty decent. But Dark Lair still 2 minutes. So who knows? We'll see what
Yeah,
happens when we get there.
that definitely seems like there's some cooldown misaligning, but we'll look
Well,
at that.
it could pair well with Wilfred's, the CDR on Tyrant or on Dark Lair in the very bottom of the tree too.
Oh, okay. And then they also gave you a choice node under Dark Glare with Wilfred's called Grim Reach. When Dark Glare deals damage, it deals 50% of that damage to all enemies affected by your damage over time effects.
Yeah, very cool. He AoEs his I-beam. We've been asking for a long time.
Wait, that's
Very
potentially like really good, right?
It could be. Like his I-beam is not, the Dark Lair's I-beam is not incredibly strong right now. They're trying to buff it with Entorium Plating, the node below Dark Lair, but it could be pretty good in like some on-demand bursty settings or like a council-based setting. Where if it's like a 3-target boss, you have a Dark Lair that just, if it comes out of Entorium Plating, lasts half a minute and AoEs everything. It could be really good.
Yeah, we also don't know like the power level of a lot of these things. So especially with things being moved to capstone nodes and so many new things being added to capstone nodes, something they're obviously going to have to do is during the tuning phase, which has not even started yet. This is all like philosophy and design.
Yeah.
Once they get into the tuning phase, they need to make sure that these capstone nodes are relatively balanced against each other, right? They have not begun that. So Dark Glare that you know from the past could just be a totally different butt in this expansion. A lot of classes are going to have to get that treatment. So how powerful this is might just depend on how powerful Dark Glare is, and we don't really know the answer to that yet.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, and they said rearranging some talents on the left side of the tree. We'll continue to watch for feedback, yada yada. All right, Demo, big changes, which is I think it's good for the game. I'm interested to hear what you say about this. So they said overall we're happy with the community's reception of the Demo tree. People were very happy, very very. They didn't get old demon form back, but I think it was unlikely to get that with Havoc Demon Hunters having it. Get your
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, get your ability stolen, by the way, and then also they have achieved a good class fantasy with demonology where you're just a fucking demon manager, and they double and triple down on that in this tree, and I think people really like it. However, they have changed this here. Demonic consumption has been removed and replaced with Reign of Tyranny, which is down at the choice note at the bottom against Sigil or Wilfred's.
Yeah.
Active wild imps grant 1 stack of demonic servitude. Active greater demons grant 2 stacks of demonic servitude. Demonic tyrant deals 3% increased damage. And then they said as a note, demonic consumption was largely invisible in terms of how much power your tyrant was getting and encouraged utilizing defensive cooldowns offensively for maximum throughput. Probably very specifically referring to Rallying Cry, but certainly things like Ancestral Vigor and stuff like that. With Reign of Tyranny, we're trying something that is more visible to players with better controllable scaling.
Yeah, I think this is a very good change. Every build of Demonology revolved around Decon. Decon being demonic consumption for those who don't get and the fact that of you trying to get as many large pets out and as much stamina as possible. It's a bit of a problem when you're looking at the class tree and you see things like 10% stamina increase and a 6% stamina increase on you and your pets, and anything that gives you any kind of like
Soulburn Hellstone.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up too. Just soul burning a Hellstone, which is obviously not intended. It's a problem when all those abilities, the first thing you think of is demonic consumption. How do I get more value out of my pets? How do I get more health, right? So I think this is a great change. Reign of Tyranny sort of is still like demonic consumption, where it rewards you for having more pets out and larger pets, but it's not rally around the Warlock, pop Soulburn Hellstones, do everything you can, Ancestral Vigors, drop an APT, and just try and give as much stamina to them as possible. It's a good change. We'll see where it goes scaling-wise, but I'm a pretty big fan of it. I think nobody really liked Decon at this point, or most people didn't like it.
It's also highly degenerate. I still remember being on the PTR with THD and making sure that we were deciding. I mean, this is still kind of a thing. Like PIing so PI and Demo for a long time was like the best PI, but we were seeing how close PIing the Tyrant as well as THD was compared to the second best PI in the game. And while we were doing that, we also had a Resto Shaman with a weak aura set up to every single time his cooldowns are about to come up to individually put Ancestral Vigor on his pet as well as him. And stuff like that. Like seriously, like it was hyper degenerate, and there was even times where we were thinking about running 2 or 3 warriors just so we could have a rally for the fight and 2 rallies to alternate during their 2-minute windows. Now with this new expansion and the Giga Tyrant now most likely being on a 3-minute cooldown without Wilfred's, you could get some CDR from rogues and still get a 1-minute Tyrant potentially, but like you're basically rotating on a 1.5 minute tyrant and then having your Giga Tyrant every 3 minutes now with Nether Portal, and that lines up exactly with Rallying Cry. And I think that was a big problem. I think you were most likely going to see, if you had multiple Demolocks in the raid, that you'd be better off using Rally as an offensive cooldown than defensive. And I just think that is, and you should never mix defensive and utility with damage ever. It's always a weird decision and it feels bad. So I think overall they solved a lot of things with this change.
Yep, it's very good, and it will still give the same value from Nether Portal, assumingly as long as they give the same like 2 stacks per pet. It's a good change overall. I agree.
Okay, after that, dude. Okay, I liked the hold this for me.
Everybody did, man.
Yeah, I think that is such a baller name for a talent, but they renamed it to Guillotine. And did they change it? I think it's the same thing, right?
It's the same thing. They just renamed it.
Dude,
I want to start a petition to rename it to Hold This For Me.
Dude,
yeah.
Hold This For Me was fucking insane. I don't know why they changed it. I mean, okay, whatever. I'm not like too mad about it, but I just think that was such a Giga Chad talent name. Okay.
Oh, I'm mad about it. A guillotine's not even what it is. Isn't a guillotine like something else? Like, you don't throw your axe in a guillotine. Hold This For Me is like Giga Chad move, right? Like, he starts punching mobs. Like, it's obviously an alpha play.
Yeah,
like, I mean...
yeah. Okay, I'm fully with you. Definitely rename this back to Hold This For Me. And then Ner'zhul's Volition has been updated, which is down here next to after Nether Portal, which is just was a baseline Nether Portal increase. Now it's whenever Nether Portal summons a demon, it has a 2 to 4% chance per soul shard spent to summon an additional demon.
So this ability previously, I guess currently, is a 5-second and 10-second duration increase on Nether Portal. But the problem is your portal setup without this ability is like 15 to 20 seconds. Yeah, so it makes it half a minute. You're never going to stand still for half a minute in any kind of raid encounter. You're never going to get full value out of it. So the feedback I gave on it was to make it like summon an extra pet every shard. And this is sort of that. Just, I think the chance to summon a pet is very, 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 very low and needs to be buffed substantially, most likely. But it's a good change because Ner'zhul's Volition in its duration form probably wouldn't have even been taken. It's sort of like a wasted node in a sense. There's power there, but you just can't like min-max it, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, so... I think it's basically saying we don't want this cooldown to be like turbo long. We would rather it be less long and just more impactful based on your gameplay inside of it. I feel like that objectively is a better change. They just got the percent wrong. 2 to 4% chance per soul shard means that it is likely that in an entire Nether Portal window, you will not even spawn an extra demon. That's ridiculous.
So many placeholder value. It very well could be until they tune it.
Yeah, like 20 to 40% chance per soul shard or something.
Yeah. Okay. One thing that I should bring up quickly is that everyone's gonna get mad if I don't. So Nether Portal summons demons whenever you spend soul shards. But the change in Ner'zhul's Volition says per soul shard. So the rotation with Nether Portal is like casting a Shadow Bolt to 1 shard, casting a 1 shard Hand of Gul'dan, and doing the same 3 or 4 times with 1 shard builder spender, builder spenders. You never cast any less than 3 shard Hand of Gul'dans 99% of the time. So it's a pet peeve from like myself, most of the community, that promotes like suboptimal rotational gameplay. And they changed the wording on Ner'zhul's Volition to actually just be like per soul shard spent. So like it's not a big deal in the long run. It should be the same either way. Cause you're still spending like 3 shards or 4 shards, the same amount.
So it's anti-synergy. They should just make Nether Portal. They should just make Nether Portal work like the new talent. Okay.
It's just confusing. Yeah. So I have to bring it up. People are gonna get mad at me.
No, I mean that's an excellent point. I feel like those are anti-synergistic in a way. Like just in the way that you want to do in your cooldown window, 2 things are grinding against each other. That makes sense. Yeah.
And also the Pit Lord is really bad. I love it. It's not. They didn't change it, but it doesn't work with Tyrant. There's no extension there. It didn't work with Decon. So in this current, like with these 2 talents, as cool as they are, you probably just talent into Portal, like Nether Portal, and don't bother with them. Just Portal for the big 3-minute Tyrant and just forego them until they get buffed. But just worth keeping in mind. So yeah.
So just worth looking at the Pit Lord. I mean, they could also just make Pit Lord like. I mean, I think the idea of Pit Lord is good. It's just not good enough, right? And it doesn't scale Tyrant.
They probably just put it in for like, this is a new ability. We haven't tuned it or anything yet, but they're both pretty bad right now.
Okay, and then let's move on to Destro, everyone's favorite spec right now. They said, okay, so a couple of these were actually posted previously, like the backdraft affecting Soulfire, but we'll go over all of it. So like Demonology, we're happy with how the Destruction Tree has been received. We've implemented many tuning changes for Destruction and a few changes to spells based on feedback. So backdraft now affects Soulfire. One of the main points of their feedback was there's a very real scenario, especially in execute situations, where you are playing Soulfire, and it's such a long cast that it feels like shit, and they made Backdraft affect this extremely long cast that you'll be using a lot.
Yeah, it's cool. Soulfire. I mean, you cast Soulfire below 50%. Pound for pound, it's worth it. Damage wise, shard wise, and what it does. It's worth it. Yeah, it's good. It's a good change.
All right, and then we have Dimensional Rift is now in the Destruction Tree, the old thing, the 45-second recharge, 3-charge talent in the class tree is now in the Destruction Tree, and it's a choice node against Chaos Incarnate, which is the very bottom node in the tree. What do you think about that?
Yes, Dimensional Rift is very cool. It's iconic. Some people wanted it for every spec, and I understand that. I think it sort of falls under the category of like button bloat for certain things. It was the destruction portal ability from like your artifact and legion. It's really cool, but pairing it against Chaos Incarnate, I think Chaos Incarnate is incredible. I mean, we haven't tested it yet, but it seems really strong in like haste mastery builds, like really strong. Putting D-Rift there, if I'm right, I think other people feel similar too. Like you're just not gonna take Dimensional Rift, but take Chaos Incarnate unless like you need Rift for something. Chaos Incarnate is just really good. Yeah, I'd like to see it in a different spot, but I don't know where they could put it. But like, I think they should make it so that you have access to Rift pretty easily because it's an iconic ability. People like it, but Chaos Incarnate is really good, and I don't think D-Rift's gonna be taken a whole lot if you pair it against
that's
Chaos Incarnate.
okay. Well, I want to get into when you would take it a whole lot because I think choice nodes across basically every tree has some differing philosophies, but one thing that is true in all of them is there needs to be a scenario where you take them at different points for different reasons, or they line up with different talents, and it cannot ever be it's because it's just tuned higher. If you ever have a choice node where it's like these two things just do damage and in all scenarios, and I will just always take the one that does more, like the one I always point out with this is they actually just changed this, but like on the Hunter tree, the tree at the bottom, they have this current node right here where it's, you know, True Shot lasts an additional 3 seconds and reduce the focus cost of all your abilities during it by 25%, and then there's one that just makes your True Shot give you stacking crit chance and crit damage during your thing. Both of these are the exact same thing. They just make your True Shot do more damage during it. They have no other interactions with it, and you'll just always take the one that is better. That's a terrible choice node. So what they did is they put Eagle Talon's True Focus with calling the shots, and they've now made it a a choice node between like, okay, do you want like a kindling style shorter True Shot, or do you want a Giga True Shot? That's an excellent choice node. What you guys have down here, do you see that there's really any choice by specifically putting Dimensional Rift as a choice node with Chaos Incarnate?
There can be at times. Destro is pretty immobile. I mean, you might be taking Shadow Burn and some spells you can cast in the move now, but out of all 3 Warlock specs, Destro is pretty immobile. So if it's a fight where you need like that bit of movement, you might want it there. Or like if like a prio ad spawns, it is a lot of burst. Like they're really overtuned at alpha right now, but they'll get nerfed. So if it's like a weird like prio burst fight, you can maybe take them. At the same time, Chaos Incarnate just brings a lot of burst too, with guaranteed mastery. So it's very hard. Hello, THD, by the way.
THD woke up.
He is here.
Wokage.
Yep, just got right out of the bed. Hello.
THD, what's the average amount of time you sleep at one time?
That was 4 hours.
Oh, you actually did a full 4 hours.
But yeah, I mean, maybe THD has some input on this too. Like Dimensional Rift being paired against Chaos Incarnate. THD, do you have any thoughts on that briefly?
Well, just before he answers, though, I think you had a good point where you're saying, like, on movement-centric fights, having a 45-second thing that doesn't necessarily need to line up with anything, but is something you can just, press on the move to have less downtime, that is definitely real. Like Destro might be the most immobile class in the game, right? Like, it's way... Especially with, like, Soulfire being used more in Dragonflight, I feel like having a button that is at the bottom of your tree that's centered around taking on a movement heavy fight, I feel like that can add a lot of viability to Destro. But it may not be that ability, right? But it just something like that.
It has 3 stacks too, so you can pop 3 back to back to back if you want. Dimensional Rift does. It sort of depends on sims. I mean, in the end, like you can still leverage mobility with Shadow Burn, cast, and conflict rates. If it's pre-planned movement, you have circles and things, right? But there are plenty of times where as a Destro lock, you just have to move and you can't really do much. So in those fights, it could be good. Popping all 3 at the same time could also be a lot of damage in a burst window, like a prio ad spawns. But I think just like overall, Chaos Incarnate's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, there are scenarios where it could be good. That is very true.
I think it should be. I think it should be where Chaos Shard was.
Where the fuck is that?
Chaos Shard is like mid right side.
So you pick it up here on the. So I mean, basically, just so it's guaranteed. I mean, you're gonna take. Actually, wait. I guess in like a pure single, in a lot of cases, no, you're taking improved immolate on 2 target, right? It would just be. Yeah. So you'd always have a path to it in AOE or single target.
They also replaced that node with a new ability though.
Oh, we'll talk about that when we kind of
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So we'll talk about that later. Combusting engine has been removed and replaced with explosive potential. Before I even read what the new thing is, this was immediately weird. Like reading this,
Yeah.
it's like no one wants to do this. It's like super boring. Always can flag after your immolate yeah, it's just bad. Even if you would have ever taken it.
It's a conduit right now in Shadowlands. It's been there since day one, and no one takes it. It's miserable. It's not fun to play with, so I'm very happy to see it replaced. It's good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Explosive potential in its place now. It just reduces the cooldown of con flag by 2 seconds. Banger or not banger?
It's fine.
It's okay.
I feel like
could be a better one, but that's okay.
I feel like it filters in really well. It's gonna feel good to have that with backdraft with Soulfire with a boss under 50%. But
people wanted flashover in place of internal combustion or combusting engine. I'm sorry.
What is flashover?
If you hover over backdraft, it'll show it for you. Actually, sort of.
Sure.
Flashover is a talent right now that we have that increases conflict rate damage by 25, and it gives you an additional charge of backdraft. So like you can hold a max of 2 backdrafts without flashover currently on live right now, but if you have backdraft, it gives you 4. So it's sort of like a better version of the trait they put in.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So, I mean, either way, like explosive potential works fine. It's maybe might be a little undertuned, but it's fine. It's better than combusting engine. So
yeah, reality is they could just remove the conflict damage on flashover and stick in the increased charges.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. And then Chaos Shards has been removed on the right side and replaced with Scalding Flames. Why do you think they changed this? Did they give any thoughts to that?
It's below it. It says we're removing Chaos Shards to ensure that Destro's soul shard generation is at a healthy cadence rather than overflowing.
Oh, they thought it was too good.
Yeah, you have a legendary ability towards the bottom, center bottom-ish, Embers of the Diabolic Raiment, which gives like 100% more shard gen from Incinerate. So they were probably a little worried about that with scaling, or just like Chaos Shards proccing a bunch.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it was too excessive either way playing it on Alpha, but I mean, it is what it is. People like Chaos Shards. Improved Immolate just seems sort of bland. You'll play it, it's fine. Just like I'm not going crazy over Improved Immolate. It's also a 2-point talent versus Chaos Shards being 1. FYI.
Well, that's really important because that
Yeah.
means like getting down to Flashpoint. It was way easier to get to Flashpoint before because Fire and Brimstone. Again, I'm actually surprised they didn't speak about Fire and Brimstone, to be honest, because I think that's
It's so bad.
a major point of feedback. Most of our destruction talk surrounded around what this ability used to be, what it is now, and the fact that they even have capstone like integration with this ability, and no one's talking about it or thinking about taking it ever. And
We can touch on that if you want a sec.
we can after this, but I just wanted to kind of go over Scalding Flames, immolation or immolate by 13 and 25%, 2-point node. Is going to make it a bit harder to path down the tree unless they are reducing a point, but they would have probably mentioned that somewhere else. I guess just okay on tree target.
I think with that immolate, you will never go down the right.
Oh, okay. So if you're just like straight up,
that is an awful thing.
So if you're just straight up just picking whatever, right? Like if you're ever pathing down, having to take those 2 points you're just probably not getting Flashpoint.
Yeah, there's like no way. You can't get to that. There's too much commitment to get to that.
I mean, I feel like if you want Flashpoint on a fight, you'll go get it, right? Because it's not a bad immolate fight either, but it does seem pretty bland. It's just sort of there, and it's like not your first choice. If you need filler points, it's okay, but the Destro tree is really tight in points spent. Like I don't have a free point typically building different builds, so
yeah,
that's a very good point to bring up.
Yeah. Also, I do not like immolate damage because it's the other talent that's not reverse entropy.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that thing.
Internal combustion.
Yeah, it's a.
Oh, this is the same thing that like Resto Shamans have to deal with, where anytime you're casting an ability and you're empowering one of your spells by reducing or removing a dot or hot on the target, it's bad. Like there's a Resto Shaman talent that makes it so your chain heal is Giga if you use it on a Riptide target, but it removes the Riptide, and that just makes it so you'll never take it. This is like kind of like that, but for Destrolock.
The thing is that ability is really good in specific scenarios. Like internal combustion is really good. It's just very annoying.
It scales with haste, which is why it was so good in Nilotha with Flashpoint Expedient. It doesn't scale like with intellect and things.
In the end of BFA, you took it because it like scaled insane because obviously your MLA was ticking like every half second or something. So when you consumed like 5 seconds, it was like 10 ticks.
Anything with
And
the word combusting engine for Destro was not good. Combusting engine, internal combustion, get it out of the tree. We don't want it, alright?
Okay, good feedback. And then, okay, I think that pretty much covers it. Except I wanted you to kind of Kalamazi, if you want to spit about Fire and Brimstone. We spat about it like last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the Warlock shit came out. But 3 weeks ago, I don't even remember. We did not like it at all. What are your takes on Fire and Brimstone?
It's putrid. It's not good. I mean, I'm not going to rehash what you guys said, but one of the big things is that I think they're afraid of the synergy between Fire and Brimstone and Burn to Ashes at the bottom. But the other part that really enabled that was Decimating Bolt from the Clash Tree, and that's gone. So that big triple synergy loop is not there anymore, and it might open the door for Fire and Brimstone buffs. But having Burn to Ashes that far down the tree, and just Fire and Brimstone being so bad on its own with a 7-15% modifier is just not good. They also removed the shard gem part of it. So, I mean, all I was going to say is that it might be up for tuning soon with Decimating Bolt being removed, but it's just not good. It's been nerfed every expansion. It just gets worse and worse, and it's a talent like that. It's not good. Like,
and also, Fire and Brimstone used to be banger to play. Like it wasn't a bad gameplay at all. Maybe it was hard to balance and tune. I didn't main Warlock back then, but I did play. Like I played Mop, Warlock, Fire and Brimstone. I thought it was one of the most fun specs to play in the entire game. It was so good, and I just like, why not move away from that? You'd have two different like AoE play styles. You could have Fire and Brimstone. You could have the current like Rain of Fire spamming thing. Like you can have both. Or if you're not going to have both and you think it's convoluted to have like two different mass AoE options, then just like bake it into something else or make it more synergistic between the two, which is like kind of Destro's whole bit, right? Like Destro's entire bit is we are insane at like a couple of targets, especially target swapping, and like that's our thing. So like why is this even still in the tree if you're not going to double down in either direction?
Yeah. Plus you have Burn to Ashes in like the 2-piece, 4-piece section of the tree for capstones. Like that row is our 2-piece and 4-piece from live right now, the purple infernals and stuff. It just it feeds in the AoE profile, but it's like the enabler in Fire and Brimstone is just so bad. I don't know. Like they doubled the damage of Incinerate in Dragonflight. They doubled the spell power modifier, but it just seems like bad. 7% of your damage. Like it was my Incinerate was hitting for like 150 damage on a dummy. Like that's like I'm AFK hitting it with my staff. It's so bad. And there's no shard gen anymore either. They removed the shard generation part, so I feel like there are other abilities that just affect it. That, like Embers of Diabolic Raiment, giving more shard gen, Decimating Bolt, Burn to Ashes, improved. Just everything affects how powerful it can be. You don't want it scaling to a crazy amount, but that might be a design problem, and just like needs to be looked at. Because in its current form, it's just laughable.
Do you guys have anything else on the rest of the trees? If you have some time to spit about Warlocks, is there stuff you guys still want to see removed or changed? We talked about all the stuff. THD missed the first 3 parts, but I'm sure he shared a lot of the similar opinions. You guys have an open floor.
I guess I could talk a little bit about Affliction.
Sure.
I don't know if you had the same. When I saw Malefic Affliction, I got combusting engine vibes.
Fair. I didn't. I thought it was pretty cool, but I haven't played with it obviously yet. So, I mean, talk about it.
It literally is combustion engine vibes, right? Because you're putting up unstable affliction, then immediately trying to buff the duration of that unstable affliction, right? It's like pretty much the same thing.
Not sure how it'll play out. Also, Soul Tap's still there, so that's there. Well, we don't know, I guess. Like, thing is, right? I haven't seen it yet, but they didn't say they removed Soul Tap, so you gotta assume it's still there.
They would have mentioned it if it was being removed, because they specifically mentioned the things that they did remove.
You want to hit on Soul Swap, THD?
That's an ability for sure.
I mean, I just don't understand why you're bringing back Soulburn. Why would you not have?
I mean, Soul Swap to me just looks like it's like Fire and Brimstone. You know, it just died.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I feel like you have the option to like have Soulburn revive it again, and it just doesn't have any interaction whatsoever. If you're gonna keep the base thing that dookie, then why not buff it in general or allow it to be changed?
Even if they remove the Soul Shard cost on what it is right now, you're not putting a point in that. It literally saves you like 2 seconds of opening time. You can pre-cast your UA and apply 2 dots that are instant cast. That's all you use it for in Patchwork. Even in like cleave fights, it's just sort of awkward. If it was how it was in the past, where you could inhale dots from a target and exhale them on a different one, like copying your Phantom Singularities on like spread cleave fights and things, it might be taken in certain spots, and it would justify the shard cost. But right now, it's cool to see it back, but it's probably never going to be played. It's just not good in that form. So
Yeah, I mean, other than that, there's the Demo Tree with the Reign of Tyranny instead of Decon, which is, you know, they effectively do the same thing, but obviously they wanted to get rid of the
Health
gen
tribes.
gameplay. Yeah, numbers might be too low on that, but who knows?
I mean, yeah, that's like a tuning thing.
Yeah,
I think overall, big props to them for removing the health stuff from that, because it was even more degenerate than that. Like there was we talked about all the degeneracy earlier. We talked about those target dummy testing sessions, all that shit. But like it's even the fact that you were wearing a fucking stamina increase health trinket during point, they nerfed that, but like
1.0.
during points of
Oh, they didn't nerf
expansion.
it because of me. They nerfed it because of PvPers. So I blame PvPers. I
Like-
was ready to use that thing.
Yeah, that was, yeah, when like, you know how normally like at the beginning of the race world first you like spend Valor on like a sick PvP upgrade in like week 1 of Mythic or something? THD had to spend his on a fucking health trinket. You know, like that's that is ridiculous. Yeah, that needed to be out of the game. It was like one of the only things with any class that actually works like that. It just needed to be gone. And the fact that you could also individually the fact that the pet's health scaled off of your character, but then also you could individually buff the pet and it multiplied, like that's just so stupid.
Yeah. There are a couple things quickly. If you go to Implosion in the Demo Tree, far left side, I think it should be more central-ish or easier to access, because most of the build you want to, I mean, you want to implode probably with every build. Not having access to Implosion feels really bad. It's
Yeah, you
something
have to
hit.
go through Demon Bolt and Shadow's
Yeah.
Light to get it.
And the problem is, like, Demon Bolt is like fine, but then Demon Bolt goes into Shadow's Bite, which is like a weird, just bad single target talent, and then it goes into your big AoE talent. It seems very odd, like Shadow's Bite into Implosion. If they swapped Born of Blood, which is the talent that comes out of Demon Bolt, just basically the one to the top left, swap those two. Swap Shadow's Bite and Born of Blood. I think that would feel a lot better. You grab Demon Bolt, you grab Born of Blood, you would feel fine going into Implosion at that point. But it feels terrible spending a point in Shadow's Bite to get Implosion. It's like the polar opposite of what Implosion is, and it's just not good.
So Demo's like the only tree that's still like pretty good right now that has points that build off of each other in completely different spots of the tree. And I think some of the Warlocks were making the point last week that like if you look at like the dog talents and everything, they're all over the place. Like they're nowhere near each other. Every other class would complain about that. With Demo, it works because you have access to all of them. It just does lead to a couple of weird decisions where clearly at the bottom of this tree, there is some like Giga Demon Bolt play style, and then there's like more of a pet play style. It's just not really separated into two different sides. Probably the main reason for that is they wanted the Demo tree to look like a skull, so they didn't really have the option to do that, which is like kind of a decision in itself, but it's like whatever, it's super epic and stuff. But like it's just like there's a couple of pathing things where it shouldn't. Generally speaking, Implosion is like an AoE talent, and in any tree where you have to get things that do not make sense for an AoE talent, it should be there. Look at the other two trees, right? Look at Destro. Oh, you want AoE? Cool. There's an entire line right here that has everything to do with that, and it's right there, and it doesn't interact with anything else. You don't need it to get to anything. That's where it is. Okay. Same thing with Affliction. If you are doing Affliction and you want to go down that tree, Malefic Rapture, Seed, all this stuff, even though there's much more stuff at the bottom that's like more central, whatever, it's there. And then Demo is just like, okay, we have to make a skull, so how do we do this? And it's just, it doesn't quite work, and I don't know. They can move this, but it's weirder than other trees, I think.
Destro looks like Incinerate.
What?
Yeah, the Destro tree looks like a small Incinerate.
No shot.
What?
Yeah, I do see it. It's very like weaves like back and forth when it's traveling when you cast it. But come on, THG, what is wrong with you? What? How do you see that?
He's living in another dimension, man.
I'm in Florida too.
That's actually
Yeah, but
fucking good.
I mean, if they, I mean, I just think Implosion should be a lot more central, personally.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a very good ability to have like all the time, even if it's like even on single target, like there are relevant use cases for it because your imps don't target swap, right? If you have like 10 imps out, there you even if you pet attack, they may tyrant they may tyrant swap targets, they may dreadstalker swap targets based on your pet attacking, but not imps.
So a way to target swap would be to explode your imps and make
Yes.
them actually do damage to something because they won't cast on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's
I mean,
something you do.
I don't want
And
to. Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like making it more central is probably better. Like, I mean, I'm not crazy. They should probably like move around a couple things here and there. Like, you know, they could keep the skull. Like, you know, the skull's cool, okay? But like, they could probably move around things to make it so that implosion works just like how you get Rain of Fire, and move around the Fel Commando and the dog traits somewhere on the left.
There's also
Dude.
the potential of just imploding in pure single target too, with the expendables at the very bottom. Like you probably just do. It's the left side, because that talent, very bottom left. There you go. There you go. It's like because your tyrant extends imps, so you'll have that buff going into your tyrant, but you won't have it for the full duration of your tyrant. So you probably have to implode the imps to get that 10% buff on your tyrant for big damage. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Most builds, probably every build, wants implosion for one reason or another. Having it in that spot is awkward. It more so be based around like Baleful Invocation, or sorry, Demonic Consumption, or New Reign of Tyranny. Having that amp out when your tyrant's swinging is gonna be big. And if it extends imps, you won't have it unless you implode them.
I want to
So
point out an interesting thing between warlocks and other classes. So you guys are sitting here being like, "Yeah, I get it. It's a skull. I like that it's a skull, and you know this thing's in the wrong spot, but they could move it, but keep the skull. It's like super cool." Meanwhile, if like hunters had a bad tree and it was just like no hunter's just gonna be out there and be like, "Oh well, you know it like it looks like a fucking arrow, kinda. You know, it's just like a fucking straight line, and it has like that would just never happen with another
Well,
class."
that's because
in Warlock.
hunters don't have cool lore.
That's true. It's literally copy pasta.
Do they have a skull that talks to them every single time they summon a dog? It goes,
Dude, it's the best when we're in the middle of a prog boss, like Jailer, and Falcal just rips the whole paragraph about some random shit we never heard about, like just talking for 20 minutes. Like I'm in the middle of a boss. It's great, dude. I love it.
Oh yeah, he starts talking about how he died like a million years ago, and then like, he had like a portal open, and then how he talks he talks trash about how when you summon other people, he's like, haha, you need other people to summon, noob.
Anyways, not get too far off track. The one final thing is Hand of Doom in this tree. It should be added. THD, you want to talk about Hand of Doom briefly? Or, I mean, that's your thing, right?
Oh yeah, I love Hand of Doom.
Hand of Doom's an old talent from Legion. Whenever your Hand of will then hit, it applied Doom to it. If you want Doom to be good, put Hand of Doom in the tree, and it's great. That's the last thing that I want from this tree, I think.
Yeah, if they can find a way to put in Hand of Doom, oh my god.
Wait, quick question. Are you guys familiar with South Park?
A little bit.
Yes, but not maybe. Why?
Does the Windwalker tree kind of look like Cartman?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't totally see it.
Maybe that was their design decision.
I feel like it does. It's
That's why it took so long.
it's got the shape like.
It does, actually. That's pretty good. That's pretty
Hell yeah.
good.
That's fucking sick. All right, thanks for talking, guys. I'm gonna speak to some idiot mages now, the lesser casters.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for talking. Excellent having you on, Kalamazi. I hope to do that again in the future. Might not, and we will do this again if they do major warlock changes. I think we covered a lot of where I think a lot of the pathing will go on the tree, and we'll certainly do some catch ups more in the future.
Sounds good. One final thing: put Wilfred's in the class tree and just tune around it. It's so much better. Please. That's all I got.
Okay, amen.